You know those weird little tricks your grandma swore by? The ones that sounded too simple to actually work, but somehow always did? Well, this list is packed with exactly that kind of magic. These aren't your typical internet life hacks. These are old school, hands-on, brilliantly effective hacks that have been quietly passed down for generations. From strange uses for everyday pantry items to household fixes that cost next to nothing, these grandma-approved methods feel almost too smart to be real. But trust me, they work. Number 1. Add celery to keep bread fresh. This might sound strange at first, but placing a stalk of celery inside a bread bag is one of those old-school tricks that works so well it feels like it shouldn't. The science behind it is simple. Celery has a high water content, and when it's sealed in with bread, it slowly releases moisture into the surrounding air inside the bag. Bread, which dries out when exposed to air, begins to absorb some of that moisture, keeping the loaf softer and fresher for a longer period of time. Grandmas use this trick especially with homemade bread, which lacks the preservatives found in store-bought loaves and goes stale faster. After baking, once the bread was cooled and stored, they'd just slip a fresh celery stick inside the bread container or bag. By the next day, the bread would still feel soft to the touch, even if the celery had wilted a bit. It's important to replace the celery every 2 to 3 days to prevent spoilage or mold, especially in warmer environments. You don't need a large stalk either. Just one rib is often enough to do the job. This hack works best in a sealed environment, such as a zip-top bag or an airtight container, so the moisture stays contained. If you're storing multiple loaves or slices, place the celery in the middle of the batch to distribute the humidity more evenly. Not only is this a great way to stretch the life of your bread, but it's also a smart way to reduce waste, especially if you're trying to cut down on groceries or live more frugally. Using natural moisture instead of preservatives is a reminder of how resourceful older generations were, relying on basic ingredients to solve everyday problems without needing expensive tools or chemicals. Number 2, use a rubber band to open stubborn jars. Struggling with a stuck jar lid is something nearly everyone has dealt with. Whether it's a jar of pickles, peanut butter, or honey, sometimes no amount of twisting seems to work. Instead of risking injury or spilling the contents by forcing it open with a knife or banging it against the counter, there's a simpler, safer solution: a plain rubber band. This trick, passed down by grandmothers who made the most of what they had, is as practical as it is effective. Here's how it works. Take a thick, wide rubber band and wrap it tightly around the edge of the jar lid. Make sure the band sits securely all the way around, not twisted or loose, because the key is to increase grip. Once it's in place, try twisting the lid again. You'll notice it requires far less effort to turn. That's because the rubber acts like a grip enhancer, giving your hand better traction and control. It reduces slipping, especially when your hands are damp or oily, which is often the case in a busy kitchen. If the lid is particularly stubborn, or if the band is narrow, double up by adding a second band side by side. The extra width increases surface contact, creating even more friction between your hand and the lid. This method is particularly helpful for people with reduced hand strength, arthritis, or joint pain. It minimizes strain and avoids the frustration that comes with fighting against a vacuum-sealed lid. This isn't just for jars either. It also works on twist-off bottle caps, stuck faucet knobs, or even tightening tools in a pinch. Grandma's often kept a couple of spare rubber bands in the kitchen drawer just for these moments. It's a low-tech but smart fix, one that requires zero tools, zero strength, and zero mess. It's also worth noting that this method is more reliable than the hot water trick, which can sometimes warp lids or heat the contents inside. With the rubber band method, there's no risk to the food or the jar. It's simple, clean, and reusable. Once you get used to this trick, you'll never reach for anything else. You'll keep a rubber band close by, not just as a fastener, but as a reliable kitchen helper that gets things done without a fuss. Number 3, pick up broken glass with bread. Accidents happen, a jar slips, a glass falls, or a light bulb shatters on the floor. The big pieces are easy enough to sweep up, but it's the tiny shards you can't see that pose the real danger. Those little slivers can hide in tile grout lines, wooden floor cracks, or corners of countertops, just waiting to cut someone's hand or foot. But here's a quiet genius of a solution that many have forgotten: soft white bread. Grandma knew that a slice of plain sandwich bread could do what a broom couldn't: safely collect invisible fragments of glass without scattering them or missing spots. After sweeping or vacuuming the larger chunks, Take a slice of soft, fresh bread and gently press it against the area where the glass broke. The spongy texture of the bread conforms to surfaces, picking up the tiniest bits of glass that you can't even see. It works like a sponge, but with a stickiness that catches sharp edges. Be thorough. Press the bread into baseboards, corners, and any gaps between tiles or hardwood planks. You might even see the glitter of tiny shards embedded in the bread. Turn the slice over and repeat on the other side if needed. If it's a larger area, use more than one slice. Just be careful to press, not drag. Dragging might push shards deeper into cracks or scratch delicate surfaces. Once done, place the used bread immediately into a strong trash bag. Wrap it well or double bag it so the shards don't poke through. This method not only saves your hands and feet, but it also keeps pets and children safe from unnoticed pieces that might otherwise stay on the floor for days. Compared to using paper towels, which can tear, or a dustpan that often leaves particles behind, bread is both absorbent and flexible. It doesn't scratch surfaces and molds to the floor's texture, making it ideal for uneven tiles or hardwood. Of course, it's important not to reuse the bread or let anyone accidentally eat it. This is strictly a one-time cleaning tool, not a snack, but as unusual as it sounds, it's a practical, budget-friendly way to handle a tricky cleanup job. One more smart, no-nonsense fix from Grandma's Book of Everyday Wisdom. Number 4, line trash cans with newspaper. You know that smell? That awful trash can stink that creeps up every time you lift the lid, even if the bag isn't full yet. It clings to the air, the walls, and sometimes even your hands if the bag's leaking. But here's one of those grandma-level tricks that's so simple, you'll wonder why everyone isn't doing it. Line the bottom of your garbage bin with old newspaper. No, not inside the trash bag, underneath it. Before you even put the new bag in, lay a couple of layers of folded newspaper across the bottom of the can. This does 2 important things. First, it acts as a shock absorber for leaks. Any bit of liquid that escapes the bag, like meat juices, soggy coffee grounds, or spoiled leftovers, gets caught by the paper instead of pooling and fermenting in the bottom of the can. Second, it actively fights odor. Newspaper, especially older printed kinds, is slightly porous and fibrous, which allows it to absorb not just liquid, but also the smells that come with it. It doesn't mask the scent, it traps it. What makes this hack even more useful is how cheap and easy it is to keep up. If you still get newspapers at home or can grab free local weeklies, this trick costs nothing. Even if you don't, you can reuse packaging paper, store flyers, or junk mail. It takes less than 20 seconds to throw a couple of sheets down when you change the bag. Once you make it part of your routine, you'll start to notice your trash bin stays drier, smells less, and doesn't have that disgusting, sticky gunk at the bottom that usually builds up over time. And the best part? You'll rarely need to scrub the inside of the can anymore. If you're someone who hates dealing with garbage bin cleaning days, this trick makes it so you don't have to pull out the bleach or hose nearly as often. Plus, it's a bonus layer of protection for the trash bag itself. If something sharp pokes through the bag, the newspaper adds a cushion that might prevent a full-on leak. This is especially helpful in hot weather when food waste can go sour and stinky fast. Once the paper at the bottom is damp or looks used, just toss it and replace it next time you change the bag. Simple, fast, and it works, like so many things Grandma taught us. Now that the trash can's under control, let's move on to one of the most annoying stains to deal with: grease. Whether it's food splatter or an accidental oil spill, Grandma had a pantry-powered solution that works like magic. Number 5, lift grease stains with cornstarch. Grease stains are the kind of mess that feel like they ruin everything they touch. Drop a bit of oil on the carpet, and suddenly it's a permanent dark spot. Drip some butter on your shirt, and it looks like it's there to stay. But here's something Grandma always had on hand that fixes it fast: cornstarch. This isn't just for thickening gravy. Cornstarch is an incredibly absorbent powder that can pull oil right out of fabric and carpet fibers if you catch it early. The key is to act while the grease is still fresh, but even older stains can be treated with this method if you give it enough time. Start by blotting any excess grease with a paper towel or cloth. Don't rub, just blot gently. Then take a generous amount of dry cornstarch and sprinkle it directly on the stain. Don't be shy with it. You want a visible pile covering the entire spot. Use your fingers or the back of a spoon to press it lightly into the surface. This helps it reach into the fibers, especially on carpets and upholstery. Let it sit for at least 30 minutes, but if you've got time, Leave it for an hour or two. During that time, the cornstarch works like a sponge, pulling oil and grease out of the material. Once it's had time to do its thing, brush or vacuum away the powder. Most of the time, the stain will be gone or noticeably lighter. If needed, repeat the process or follow up with a gentle dish soap and warm water solution for any remaining residue. On fabric like clothing or cushions, you can apply the cornstarch and then wash the item as usual in the laundry. This trick also works surprisingly well on throw pillows, curtains, and even fabric shoes. Just be sure to spot test first on delicate materials. It's worth noting that cornstarch is gentle. It won't discolor fabric or leave a weird texture like some chemical cleaners can. That's why it's such a favorite old-school fix. In fact, it's so effective and harmless that many professional cleaners still recommend it for delicate textiles. And if you don't have cornstarch on hand, baby powder can work similarly, since it has a similar consistency and absorbent quality. This is one of those hacks that proves you don't need to panic or reach for expensive stain removers when you've got the right tools already in your kitchen. Next time there's a greasy accident, reach for the cornstarch and let it handle the mess for you. No harsh chemicals, no drama. Now with the fabric and carpets looking clean again, how about dealing with scratched leather or tarnished silver using something you were probably about to throw in the compost bin? A banana peel. Number 6, polish shoes and silver with a banana peel. It might sound strange at first, but a banana peel can do more than just protect fruit. It can actually polish and restore shine to leather goods and tarnished silver. It's a trick that's been passed down quietly in families, and once you see how well it works, you'll never toss out your banana peels without thinking twice. For leather, whether it's scuffed shoes, a handbag, or even a leather couch, the inside of a banana peel acts like a natural cleaner and conditioner. After you eat the banana, take the peel and use the soft inner side to rub gently over the surface of the leather. The natural oils and waxes in the peel, along with potassium, help to lift dirt and smooth out surface marks. You'll start to notice that slight scuffs seem to disappear, and the leather takes on a subtle, healthy shine. Not greasy or slick, just nicely refreshed. After rubbing, take a clean, dry cloth and wipe away any leftover banana residue. Then use another cloth to buff the surface in circular motions. The result is surprisingly close to what you'd get from a commercial leather conditioner, but with zero chemicals and no added cost. This method is safe for black and brown leather, but for white or light-colored leather, always test in an inconspicuous spot first. For silver, banana peel works differently, but just as effectively. Silver tarnishes because of exposure to air and moisture, creating that dull, dark layer that's hard to clean without the right polish. The inside of the banana peel contains mild acids and oils that gently break down the tarnish. For small silver pieces like spoons or rings, you can rub them directly with the inner side of the peel. If you're working with larger or heavily tarnished items, try blending a banana peel with a little water to create a paste. Rub this paste onto the silver using a cloth or soft sponge, then rinse it off and dry it thoroughly. The fibrous texture in the peel provides gentle abrasion while the oils do the polishing. This hack isn't just cheap and chemical-free. It's also eco-friendly. Instead of buying polish or tossing your peels, you're getting a second use out of something that would normally go straight to the trash or compost. It's especially useful for people with sensitivities to strong chemical cleaners or for cleaning family heirlooms that you don't want to risk damaging. So next time you eat a banana, save that peel. It might just bring your old leather and dull silver back to life the way Grandma would have done it. Number 7, fill small wall holes with toothpaste. Small holes in the wall might not seem like a big deal at first, but they can really make a room look messy and poorly maintained. These little marks, often left behind from nails, picture hangers, or push pins, break the flow of clean walls and can be especially frustrating if you're a renter trying to get your deposit back. What's great is that Grandma had a simple trick to fix this problem without any tools, fancy materials, or a trip to the hardware store. All you need is a tube of plain white toothpaste. Here's how it works. First, make sure the hole is clean and free of dust or loose material. You don't want to trap anything under the surface. Then take a small amount of regular white toothpaste, not the gel type, just the basic chalky kind, and squeeze a bit directly into the hole. Use your finger, a playing card, or the edge of a piece of cardboard to smooth it out, making sure the paste is level with the wall. Wipe off any extra paste around the area while it's still wet. Now let it dry. Toothpaste hardens as it sits, and once it's completely dry, it actually fills the hole in a similar way to wall spackle. Drying time will vary depending on how deep the hole is and how much paste you've used, but in most cases, you'll be looking at a couple of hours. Once dry, you can gently sand it with a piece of fine sandpaper to make the patch even more seamless. And if the wall is painted, you can dab a bit of matching paint over the spot, and most people will never notice there was damage. This works best on white or light-colored walls, especially drywall. It's not ideal for textured walls or those with dark paint, but for quick patch jobs, especially when you're in a rush or cleaning up before a move, it does the trick surprisingly well. Just keep in mind, this is a temporary fix. Toothpaste isn't as durable as proper wall filler, and it can shrink or crack over time. But if you're looking for a fast, easy, and no-cost solution, this is one of those old-school hacks that still holds up today. It's especially useful when you don't have time for a full repair job or just need the walls to look clean for a walkthrough or photo. And once the walls are smooth and the holes are gone, your eye will naturally shift to the next imperfection in the room. Scratched wood furniture. Grandma had something clever for that too, and it's sitting right in your pantry. Number 8. Hide wood scratches with a walnut. Wood furniture gives a home warmth and character, but over time it's almost impossible to avoid scratches, especially on coffee tables, chairs, and hardwood floors. These little scrapes and scuffs stand out, catching light and drawing the eye in all the worst ways. While most people would think about refinishing the whole surface or buying special wood markers, Grandma had a smarter and much cheaper solution. She used a walnut. Yes, an ordinary shelled walnut. What makes this work so well is the natural oil content in the nut. Walnut oil is similar in color and texture to many types of wood finishes, and when it's rubbed into a scratch, it darkens the exposed area and blends it back into the wood around it. It's especially effective on light to medium-colored wooden surfaces. Here's how you do it. First, grab a raw walnut, shelled of course. Break it in half so the soft, slightly oily part is exposed. Then, press the broken edge of the nut directly onto the scratch. Rub it in with small circular motions, following the grain of the wood if possible. The motion helps heat up the oils slightly, encouraging them to seep into the scratch. Keep rubbing for about 30 seconds to a minute. After that, let it sit for a few minutes so the oil can absorb. Then, take a soft cloth or even a paper towel and gently buff the area. You'll probably notice that the scratch has already started to fade or completely disappear. That's the walnut oil at work, soaking into the dry, exposed wood and darkening it just enough to match the rest of the finish. This method won't work miracles on deep gouges, of course, but for light surface scratches and worn patches, it can make a big difference with almost zero effort. If you don't have a walnut on hand, other oily nuts like pecans or almonds can work too. The walnuts are the most effective because of their specific oil composition and color. Some people even keep a bottle of walnut oil or almond oil around and use a cotton swab to apply it, especially for precision on delicate surfaces. This hack is great not just for furniture, but for wood frames, baseboards, cabinets, basically anything made of real wood. It's natural, non-toxic, and won't harm the finish. And best of all, it's cheap. A single walnut can be used on multiple spots and gives you instant improvement without chemicals or tools. Once your furniture looks good as new, you'll probably want to focus on the little stuff that often disappears around the house, like a dropped earring or screw. Grandma had a surprisingly high-tech solution for that too, even without modern gadgets. Number 9, find lost items with a pantyhose vacuum trick. Losing small objects like earrings, rings, beads, or tiny screws is frustrating. They seem to vanish the second they hit the carpet or roll under the furniture. Searching on your hands and knees with a flashlight rarely works, especially if the item is shiny and blends in with the floor or shadows. But Grandma had a clever workaround, a trick that turns your vacuum cleaner into a treasure finder using just one unexpected item: pantyhose. Here's what you do. Take a leg from an old pair of pantyhose or sheer tights. You're going to stretch this over the nozzle or hose of your vacuum cleaner. The key is to create a barrier that allows air and suction to flow, but prevents the lost object from being sucked all the way into the vacuum. Wrap the nylon tightly over the hose opening and secure it in place with a rubber band or some string. Now, turn on the vacuum. The suction will pull air and any small object in its path toward the hose. But instead of being lost inside the vacuum bag or canister, the item will stick to the outside of the pantyhose. Slowly run the nozzle over the area where you think the item might have landed, around couch cushions, under tables, in rugs, along baseboards. Move in a grid pattern so you don't miss a spot. As you vacuum, keep your eye on the hose. The instant the lost item hits the nylon, you'll see it pressed against the mesh, stuck there by the airflow. Once that happens, turn off the vacuum and gently remove the item from the nylon surface. It works like a charm, and it's safe for both the vacuum and the object you're trying to recover. This hack is especially useful for finding things that are hard to see, like earring backs, contact lenses, pills, screws, buttons, or small Lego pieces. It's also safer than reaching around blindly in dark corners or under heavy furniture. And since pantyhose are thin but durable, they don't block the suction too much but still create an effective filter. You don't need to cut up a good pair of tights either. If they have a run or are no longer wearable, this is the perfect way to reuse them. Keep an old pair in your cleaning kit, and the next time you drop something valuable, you'll be ready. This hack combines common sense with a bit of DIY problem solving, just like so many things Grandma figured out long before smartphones and smart vacuums ever existed. Number 10, remove wet sand with baby powder. After a relaxing, sun-soaked day at the beach, nothing ruins the moment faster than the stubborn, gritty sand clinging to your skin. It gets stuck between your toes, behind your knees, on your calves, everywhere. You try to shake it off, rinse it off, brush it off with a towel, but somehow it always ends up in your car, your shoes, and even your bed later that night. This is where an old-school grandma hack comes in, and it's shockingly simple. Baby powder. Just regular, unscented baby powder you can find at any drugstore. Here's how it works and why it's so effective. When you're at the beach, especially if you've gone swimming, your skin holds onto moisture. Sand sticks to that moisture like glue. But baby powder, thanks to its fine, moisture-absorbing particles, quickly dries out the skin's surface. Once the moisture is gone, the sand loses its grip and just falls away. All you have to do is sprinkle a little baby powder on the areas where the sand is sticking, between your toes, on your feet, ankles, or even your thighs. Rub gently, and the sand slides off without effort. It's like a mini miracle. This works great for kids too, especially when they're sandy and fussy and you're trying to get them into the car without covering everything in grit. You don't need to use a lot. A small squeeze bottle of baby powder can last you several beach trips. Keep one tucked in your beach bag or glove compartment, and you'll always be ready. Another plus, baby powder tends to leave a soft, clean feel on your skin, and depending on the type, you might even get a fresh, subtle scent. If you prefer something natural or fragrance-free, cornstarch works just as well. It has the same moisture-absorbing effect and is safe for sensitive skin. One important note, make sure your skin is mostly dry before applying the powder. If you just walked out of the water and are still dripping wet, dab dry with a towel first. The powder won't do much if the skin is soaked, but once you're lightly dry, a few shakes of powder and a quick rub down will leave you completely sand-free. This simple trick is one of those clever life upgrades that makes you wonder why no one ever taught it in school. No mess, no fuss, and no more vacuuming sand out of your car for the next 2 weeks. It's a practical solution that generations have used, and it still works just as well today. Next time you head to the beach, pack your sunscreen, towel, and a bottle of baby powder. You'll thank Grandma later. Number 11. Make a homemade heating pad with rice. If you've ever dealt with a sore neck, tight shoulders, or cramps that just won't let up, you know how soothing a heating pad can be. But instead of spending money on an electric one or dealing with cords and settings, there's a much simpler way to make a safe, effective heating pad right at home. All you need is a clean cotton sock and some dry, uncooked rice. That's it. This old-fashioned remedy is incredibly easy to make, reusable, and surprisingly effective. Start by taking a clean, thick cotton sock. A long tube sock or crew sock works best, but anything without holes will do. Fill the sock about 3/4 full with uncooked white rice. Don't overfill it. You want to leave enough space so it can bend and conform to the shape of your body. Once it's filled, tie a tight knot at the open end, or sew it shut if you prefer a more permanent solution. To use it, place the rice sock in the microwave and heat it for about 1 to 2 minutes. Microwave times vary, so it's a good idea to start with 1 minute, check the heat by touching it carefully, and then continue in 15-second intervals if needed. You want it warm, not scalding. Once it's heated, drape it over your neck, shoulders, lower back, or even wrap it around your stomach if you're dealing with cramps. The rice holds heat incredibly well and slowly releases it over 20 minutes or more, giving you deep, gentle relief. This kind of homemade heating pad is especially handy because it's cordless and flexible. You can lie in bed with it, take it to the couch, or even use it under your blanket. And since there's no electricity involved, it's safer. No risk of burns from a faulty pad or overheating. Plus, the rice gives the sock just enough weight to feel comforting against sore muscles. For an extra soothing effect, consider adding a few drops of essential oil to the rice before sealing the sock. Lavender, eucalyptus, or peppermint oil can turn this simple heating pad into a relaxing aromatherapy tool as well. You can also mix in dried lavender buds for a subtle natural fragrance. After use, let the rice sock cool completely before storing it in a dry place. It's reusable again and again. Just reheat it whenever you need comfort. If you ever need a cold pack instead, you can store the rice sock in a sealed bag in the freezer and use it to reduce swelling or cool down on a hot day. This is the kind of simple, practical wisdom our grandmothers leaned on for generations. No batteries, no fuss, just natural heat and comfort in minutes. Number 12, soothe a toothache with clove. Toothaches can hit without warning, and when they do, the pain can be intense and hard to ignore. Before rushing to the dentist or taking over-the-counter medication, many grandmothers relied on an old but powerful remedy that's likely sitting in your spice rack: clove. Whether in whole form or as an oil, clove has been used for centuries to relieve dental pain, and it's surprisingly effective. The key to clove's power lies in a compound called eugenol. Eugenol is a natural anesthetic and antiseptic, meaning it not only numbs pain but also helps reduce inflammation and kill bacteria. When you place a clove against an aching tooth or sore gum, it slowly releases this compound, helping to ease the discomfort within minutes. Here's how to use it. If you have whole cloves, pick one and place it directly next to the tooth that's hurting. You can gently bite down to hold it in place. The pressure helps release the oils naturally. After a few minutes, you'll start to feel the area going slightly numb, and the throbbing pain may reduce significantly. If you have clove oil, the process is even faster. Just take a cotton swab or small piece of gauze, dip it into the oil, and apply it directly to the sore spot. Be very careful. Clove oil is highly concentrated, so you only need a drop or two. It might sting at first, and the taste is strong and spicy, but the relief comes quickly. Within 5 to 10 minutes, the intensity of the toothache often drops off dramatically. This is not a cure, of course. Clove is a temporary fix, not a replacement for seeing a dentist. But in a pinch, late at night, on a weekend, or while traveling, it can be a lifesaver. It gives you a window of relief until you can get professional care. Besides easing pain, clove's natural antibacterial properties may help keep the area clean and reduce the risk of infection spreading. That's one reason why eugenol is actually used in some dental materials by professionals. A couple of notes: clove oil should never be swallowed in large amounts, and it's not recommended for children under 2. If you're using it frequently, it's best to dilute it slightly with a carrier oil like olive oil. Also, this method works best for surface pain. Deep infections or exposed nerves may still need medical treatment quickly. Still, as a temporary solution, it's almost unbelievable how effective clove can be. It's another example of how traditional remedies, especially the ones passed down from generations of practical, resourceful women, can still hold their own against modern products.